All right. What is clicking? Ladies and gentlemen, I am Pastor Sean Stookie, and you are listening currently to Death Church Radio podcast, also coming from the Sean C. Stookie Show on Facebook. And what we are doing today is the August 2019 Q&A, where we take 13 questions from different websites of people just looking for some help. And I got a partner today. Today, it is a medical assistant. He goes by Neil. Neil, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show here. Like Chuck said, I'm a medical assistant. I'm also a psychology student, and I'm glad to be here. I'm really excited to do this Q&A.
Now, without giving out too much information, what is your background in being a medical assistant?
Well, I got my medical assistant certificate. I'm certified. I've been working for about a decade, almost a decade in that field. I've also been studying psychology and physiology for the last about 6 years or so.
So this is the perfect guest, and you're actually going to be seeing him and also Ray on the show because both of them like helping out people, and they're both high IQ'd people. So
For real.
yeah. So M.A. Neil, what do we got for the first question here?
So we've got 13 questions that we basically chose anonymously from online. So there might be a little bit less context than you'd expect from these questions, but we're going to do our best in terms of trying to answer it and pretty much give our best advice for all of these poor people here. So
Right.
You ready? The first question I have is pretty short. It says here, how do I cope with the fact that I'll never have my own family? Now, I did want to preface this by saying that this question seems pretty vague. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of the information on why this person can't have their own family or, what are the circumstances that prevent them from doing this. But, I mean, that you kind of have to go off of what information you got.
You can assume that the person's barren. Make that assumption.
Yeah, perhaps. I think for my answer for this would be really that family comes in all shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to be a natural born child. There's always adoption. You can definitely join if adopting children or having children isn't really what you're looking for. You can also join a bunch of different groups. There's plenty of options available to have family. And I know a lot of people that really their friend group was more family than their actual family sometimes. And so you just need to know where to look. You just need to be open to new experiences and new people, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. And you can also think about adopting a pet. Like if you want to adopt a cat or adopt a dog, or you even want to go through the process of adopting a child from here in the United States, or you want to go abroad, because me and you knew a pastor way back in the day that adopted a baby from Ethiopia. So, I mean...
Yeah, exactly. There's definitely many options available for people that have any issues with having children or having any type of family. Family really isn't a specific definition. It could apply to anybody.
Yeah, so don't think that you need to feel the pressure of that. If you're the person who wrote in or the person who is currently in the situation right now, you don't have to feel the need to be pressured by that. That's just social norms and stuff of, oh, I got to have the kids. It's got to be 2.5 kids. It's got to be the fence around the house. It's got to be this kind of house with 2 rooms and 2 bathrooms. That's just what societal norms pushes on people, but that may not even be God's will for your life, so why does it matter?
Exactly. Really, you can't really worry about things that haven't happened. You just have to kind of live each day the best way you can.
Right. All right, so M.A. Neil here. Next question. I am a 45-year-old stay-at-home mom at the moment of a 7-year-old daughter, okay? I have been married to my current DH for 3 years, together for 9 years, however... I have a 28-year-old son and a 26-year-old daughter that lives 6 hours from me. They are still in my hometown. Also, my son and DIL just welcomed a baby girl 15 days ago. Mm-hmm. My DH has 2 daughters from a previous marriage that have lived within 30 minutes from us now. We see them 1 time a month, their choice. Furthermore, we are living with my husband's parents. We have lived with them for almost 2 years. They make me not DH or granddaughter. What does DH mean?
I'm not sure, honestly. I was just going to say husband.
Or granddaughtered. Very unwelcomed on a daily basis. Every time I mention moving out of their house, my DH, we're just going to say husband, or my not step-husband.
No, that's her husband.
Okay. So my husband comes up with many reasons why we should stay, including a quick trip about how our daughter loves it here. Recently, I discovered that my husband and his ex-wife also live with his parents and all their previous girlfriends. I was lied to about that until just recent. Okay, please. Okay.
All right. So I mean,
kind of a
from
mess.
from what I gather from that, essentially, she's a stay-at-home mom with a 7-year-old daughter, and that lives with her husband, but also her husband's parents.
Has girlfriends that live with his.
No. She was saying that that's how his previous relationships were. His previous relationships, he lived with his parents. I think this is kind of definitely a little strange. You should probably ask your husband why he's so intent on living with his parents. It's pretty normal for somebody that's in their mid-age 40s to live by themselves. Honestly, I wouldn't put up with it if I were you. I'd want my own space.
Right.
But the issue with your children that live so far away, I mean, I feel like if you've been married to your husband for 3 years, together for 9 years, so you know this person very closely, I'm pretty sure he would understand if you said, I'd like to live closer, or I'd like to visit them more. I think that would be definitely something that's possible, and especially if they're only 6 hours away, that's like a 2-hour plane ride. So it's like it wouldn't be that difficult to get there, or you could even drive. Like my parents drive like literally 12 hours to see my aunt and uncle, and they're and so it's like it's doable, honestly.
Right.
I'm not sure why your husband is so intent on living with his parents. Maybe that's something you guys should talk about.
What is it? Can you read the last paragraph?
Let's see here. She said, recently I discovered that my husband and his ex-wife also lived with his parents and all of his previous girlfriends. So in other words, her husband just had this.
Every time he was in a relationship,
he lived with his parents, with the girl. I was lied to about that until just recently, so he obviously wasn't open about it, amongst other things too. I have become very depressed and withdrawn from my husband. I'm so angry that I live so far away from my older children and granddaughter. However, I have my 7-year-old to consider also. What do I do? He has lied to me for so many years, and now I can't trust him. I want to move back home. Please help. Well, I mean, if that's the case and he's lying to you, then you should move home, honestly. Like, if you're not happy in the relationship and you're not comfortable, then what are you going to do?
Yes. That makes the most sense.
It really does, honestly. I mean, I know it's difficult, but unfortunately, I think the best option might be for you to take your 7-year-old and, get out of Dodge, Maybe that's the best option. Obviously, your husband has this weird fetish about living with his parents, or he can't let go of his parents, or maybe he's not gotten out of that, what is that syndrome that we were discussing earlier, where, you kind of you don't mature into a man.
Peter Pan.
The Peter Pan syndrome, where you constantly just want to live under your parents' roof, or living as a boy, as you did as a boy. Like, maybe he's still suffering from something like that.
All right, let's go to the next. I'm not going to play devil's advocate and try to defend this woman's boyfriend. I'm not going to be defending that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Number 3. The question starts here. I'll die, right? I've got nothing left to live for. No soul worth bearing. No one cares. Everyone hides everything from me. You even call me Jesus, so you think you can get away with murder. I'm not sure what that means. I'd rather not wake anymore or go to sleep. I'd rather just cease to exist. What do you gather from this statement? I mean, what could you gather?
Dramatic, number one.
What could you gather?
Yeah, I mean, we got my brother in the studio who also would like to give opinions on this subject.
Dr. Buck Strickland.
Right, pseudo Dr. Buck Strickland. I mean, what would you tell someone who was like just so enwrapped in benevolence and just self-loathing? What was that thing about Jesus? Like,
I'm not sure.
Yes.
Maybe he's referring to the fact, or maybe he or she, as no gender here.
Oh.
Maybe they're referring to the fact that Christians. I honestly don't even know. It's spelled Y-A. No, it's Y-A. Yeah. Even call me Jesus. So ya think ya can get away with murder.
If you think about it, M.A. Neal. Like, how many people blame their shortcomings and the fact that they can't get a job or girlfriend on God?
Well, I don't think that's really the main issue here. I'm not sure what the Jesus statement is, but the base of this question is that this is a person that feels like they have nothing left to live for,
right,
which is absolutely untrue.
Right.
Everybody goes through issues
There's
in their lives.
There's a show called Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
Don't forget, okay? I don't know. I feel like some people have issues in their lives where they have a hard time, realizing that they need to live or they deserve to live or they have a reason to live. I just feel like, you kind of just have to keep grinding. I felt the same way recently, where it just kind of feels like you're not really doing anything right and you really have to try to make changes, and really that's what it's all about, is making the changes that fulfill you as a person.
And quit whining.
You
Quit
feel that?
Mick whining all the time.
So, Buck, to keep it a bit anonymous, I work part-time at a large retail chain. It's a big one. I'm supposed to be paid bi-weekly, but I had to change my direct deposit info a bit ago, and since I haven't been paid at all, now I've checked all my information since it's all correct. But to make it worse, I'm being told I'll receive a check for the missing pay period money, but I've heard that for 3 weeks now and nothing at this point. And it's almost $1,000 I'm owed. I keep asking about it and keep getting the same useless answer of quote unquote, it'll be here a different day, quote unquote, and it hasn't. So what should I do?
You should quit your job. Raise up those 2 middle fingers and say, you know, you're giving me this job, or I'm throwing you over the top rope and running this rumble.
I mean, what would you do if you...
I quit. I'd be like, you ain't paying me. I ain't working. I told it to my previous boss once, and he said, look, you can't talk to me like that. I said, I'll talk to you however I want to. Where's my check, okay?
Right.
I'm the boss now.
Yeah, there are legal ramifications for this kind of thing. Obviously, the company's not supposed to be having you work without any pay. So really, you could just say that, hey, I'm not going to work until you pay me. Legally, you owe me this money, and I don't owe you anything. And, if they fight back on, they fire you on it, there you go. There's your opportunity to sue them, honestly. It sounds kind of just shady and underhanded, but that's what you got to do if they're not working with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's talking about just treating people with just being good and not about the wickedness, and just treating people with respect. Like it talks about that in the New and Old Testament. And I mean, if they then fire you, that's called wrongful termination in law. I don't know, what is it called? Words of law, like a encyclopedia of law. So, I mean, really, you could technically sue for that and find a lawyer to take that case if you decide to say, or just to get, I can't think of another word, but get Buck with.
Yeah, get Buck, get me.
Get angry about.
You better get Buck Strickland on the case. Press 1-800-BUCK Strickland if you want bodyguard assistance.
All right, question number 5. All right, the next one starts here. Apparently, I'm the only one in my social circle that does handshaking. Everyone else does some sort of fist bump, or they just touch the palm of your hand as if you're doing a handshake, but without grabbing the other hand and shaking it. They all give me for greeting with handshakes. Also, we're all around 23. Am I going to die a virgin? I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yes.
I apologize for laughing at that question.
Yeah, sorry. It's just, I guess, the type of people that you hang out with or you talk to just don't like to. What was the problem? Fist bump or
shake
shaking
hands? He shakes hands. They fist bump.
Yeah, he basically says he greets everybody with handshakes, but everybody else doesn't. So
Like
he
a
feels
normal person?
ostracized. Yes, but the truth is that everybody in the adult world uses handshakes, so you really don't need to worry about this. Really, it's just your dumb friends that like to do their little handshakes. You really are not going to die a virgin. And I mean, if you're 23 and a virgin now, I mean.
Oh my! I was just watching Bray Wyatt do a promo on TV, and it scared the hell out of me. I'm not gonna lie.
This is just something that's just of your consent of as to if you want to do it or not. I mean, just in the year 2019, that's just how they do things, like the side hug. I mean, there's just different ways as to how you interact with people. I mean, me and M.A. Neal here, we don't shake hands and we don't bump fists or anything. We just acknowledge our presence.
Why are we even answering this question?
Because, I mean,
Why is this a question this man is asking?
All right, question number 6. So this one's a long one here, so we'll try to keep this brief, but here goes. This person is 18, and they said, I got my A-level results yesterday, which what they do in the UK, at least the last part of education before university. So this is graduating high school. I got my A-level results yesterday and didn't do well, at least not what I believe I'm fully capable of. Completely my fault, to be honest. I didn't apply to university as I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I want to travel or work before I go. Currently, I'm volunteering in Asia for 3 months as part of a government scheme. Okay. As my A-levels aren't exactly great, I'm just wondering what options there are for someone with those grades. I've always wanted to go to university to study history, but I'm not sure what kinds of universities would take me. Preferably, I'd like to go to a fairly decent one. But I'm just wondering what unis may take me, and if there are any other options for someone in my position.
Trade.
Well, okay, so the first thing is here.
It's pretty cool.
First thing I think, if regardless of what your A-level results are, I'm assuming that's like some kind of examination or something. There's so many universities that exist in the world that you could literally go to any university anywhere, and somebody's going to be taking you. Obviously,
University of Phoenix.
You know, like there's plenty of universities that take you for other reasons other than grades. So you know, there's definitely a lot of options. Especially if you have a lot of volunteer work, that'll definitely count, regardless of what it's part of.
True.
I don't know what you mean when you say it's a government scheme. That doesn't sound like probably a good thing you should be involving yourself in, but to each their own.
Sounds like they're doing Brexit in old Vietnam. They're going to secede from
7
Britain.
now. Yeah, so just stay positive, keep applying, find places that you want to go, or look up. Maybe even in America, you can try some colleges here. Just don't give up on it.
And don't shake hands.
Right, and don't necessarily just think that you have to go to a specific university, because a lot of people do that. Oh, if I didn't get to Yale, my life's over. Like, I mean, or Harvard.
It's not true. There's plenty of decent colleges that exist, universities. You can even go to a community college first, which, as far as I'm aware, accepts everybody, regardless of grades at this point. So go to a community college first, get your GPA back up, and then go to university. That's what you can do.
I mean, I work with a nurse who's my boss, and he doesn't even have a high school diploma. So
exactly. So
his GED. Oh wow. So, all right. Next question. I have been having a bad week and had just received bad news before a friend of mine and her mom walked past my house to chat with my parents and I. I said hello, but didn't offer much to the conversation. I was visibly upset and uncomfortable. And after they left, my mom scolded me for making everything awkward. I apologized to my friend after the fact, and she understood and continued with our friendship as usual, but I still feel guilty because I've known them for over a decade and care about them a lot. I don't want them to think less of or differently of me. How can I change this around?
What are these questions? Like, is this like the real like issues you people are having in your life right now? Oh, I had an awkward situation. How do I overcome that? Ma'am or sir, my whole life is just one big awkward moment.
You have to understand, Buck, that a lot of these people that are asking questions on these sites for advice are millennials. So, I mean, I'm
a millennial. I'm not on the online asking us questions, okay? I handle it like a man, okay? I cry every night. That's how I figure it out.
I also believe in that. I believe in crying in your closet to make sure you don't show weakness. But
Foley Doris is crying in the closet. Okay.
Okay. So my thought here was that was your mom aware of this bad week and this bad news you received before it? Because I'm pretty sure your mom and your friend and her family would be okay if you told them, hey, I'm sorry that I felt a little awkward, or I'm sorry if I didn't talk a lot during when you came over, but I've just been having a bad time. I'm sure they'd understand that. And obviously your friend didn't even need that explanation. So for you to feel like, I feel like for you to feel so guilty about it, you should not do that. You're just overthinking it.
Well, I mean, M.A. Neal here. What kind of advice would you give to someone who is, I mean, 'cause some people are just born with feeling really strong emotions of negativity and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get it. You know, I feel that way too. I feel pretty awkward in most social situations and things like that. But honestly, you just kind of need to, it's really comes down to where you just need to be, you need to find a way to be comfortable in your own skin. You know what I mean? People that, I read a quote once where it said if you're anxious, that you're worrying too much about the future, and if you're depressed, you're worrying too much about the past.
Right.
So it does make a lot of sense if you really think about it, because a lot of the things that make you depressed are mistakes that you made or decisions you made that you don't like now that you have time to think about it, and anxiety comes from thinking of things that haven't happened. So it's like you just kind of need to take every moment as you can, and I think if you just let them know that, you know, you've been having this bad week and you got this bad news, they would definitely understand. It doesn't,
right.
You know, I don't know. Number 8, how long would one must exist to verify eternity? At what age do I fully understand God?
I mean, I can understand of trying to understand things from a mature perspective, because your frontal lobe doesn't become fully grown until the age of 25. But what was the first part? The eternity?
How long would one must exist to verify eternity?
When you accept Christ. I mean, that's really the only way to understand something like that.
And if you don't want to if you don't want a Christian explanation for this, the problem is that the answer is you will never understand fully God. Nobody fully understands God. Nobody fully verifies eternity because you only live for a specified amount of time on earth. Right. So unfortunately, that's where faith comes into play when you talk about God and Jesus, and really just any type of faith you have. That's, unfortunately, faith comes without knowledge. You just have to have faith. You have to have it. And that's where we're talking about, really.
But then when you get older, that's when wisdom comes in, like it says in the book of Proverbs.
That's true.
So
you can study and you can, learn from the right teachers and really get more of a, knowledge about the subject, but I don't think you ever really fully understand God. It's impossible for a human to do that.
Go ahead and take that idea that, like, if you feel you need to know this, stop. Throw that idea out of your head.
You do not need to know everything. Some things just can't be explained, and you just have to have faith that it's going to work out in God's favor.
Faith is the answer to that.
All right, number 9. I need to gain 1 to 2 inches in my penis. Is there any permanent and effective... Is there any permanent and... Is there any permanent and effective method to make my billy bigger?
No, I looked into it. I don't think so.
Really, the thing is that it's not that kind of issue, because you're going to get all kinds of questions from people that really are looking for answers on things, even if it's what you think is ridiculous. Really, that's a heart issue and how you think women perceive you.
Yeah,
so
exactly. There's been plenty of studies showing that, like, I think it's like 70% of women don't actually care about their partner size, or they're satisfied with their partner size, but 60% of men feel like they're inadequate. So the numbers don't really add up. It's really just comes down to this social construct for men that, you have to be really fit, you have to be really macho, masculine, and a large penis is part of that. It's just part of that, rhetoric. Right. Now, the thing is that most men, at least from the studies that have been done already, have pretty much the same size penis. There's really large and small, or a kind of small percentages of the population. So really, you probably don't have to worry about anything. And if you do, or if you're with a woman that tells you need to have a larger penis, then you probably should dump that woman.
Yeah, because a woman could possibly be superficial, or if it's just any
woman that truly loves you for who you are is not going to care, honestly.
Right. Because most women actually care about your personality and how they can connect to you.
Exactly.
It's like on a much deeper level. Like,
it is a much deeper level than the superficial male construct can be sometimes. So
which question?
You definitely should not worry about it. Unfortunately, to answer your question, unfortunately, there is nothing that exists that can actually permanently increase your penis size. There are surgical options you can go into that could increase it by several centimeters, but there have been studies for people that have had that operation, and it causes increased pain and numbness and decreased function. So it's probably not worth it. Let's just put it that way. Just don't let anybody touch it unless you are okay with it.
Right, there you go. So, all right, next question. This is number 10 for MA Medical Assistant Neil right here. LGBT teen here. I have come out to my parents. They are convinced I am not gay. Tips?
Unfortunately, this is a very difficult subject for a lot of people. As for your parents, they probably have a closed-minded view of your sexuality, or the things that make you a person. Now, unfortunately, this is kind of the trouble that, from what I've heard, LGBT people have. You just kind of have to keep working on it, and eventually they'll accept you for who you are.
I mean, okay, I got a different I have a different opinion on that. M.A. Neil, read the first part of that question.
LGBT teen here.
Okay, the word there is teen, to underline. Okay. Most people that identify as whatever type of the 68 genders of this is completely against God's will. I'm sorry. It's in the book of Genesis. It's one man, one woman system. And yeah, I mean, it's a teen. You're not fully developed. You're just making these opinions of yourself of, I'm going to be this today, but next month, what could it be? Because like your brain is still in development when you're in high school or middle school. If you're a teenager, like, come on now. Like, there's no tips for us to give. I'm sorry, but just to give you tough love.
I'm sorry, but you're wrong.
Unfortunately, you're wrong. I'm sorry. I agree. Look, the thing is, I'm not going to be the guy to tell you, just do what you're going to do. Look, you don't know what you want. You're a teen. So just let those things go. Do not bring this up to your parents anymore. That's how I would treat that. So I'm sorry. It seems mean, but I'm sorry.
Question 11. Christian mysticism is the
Right.
sense of some form of contact with the divine or transcendent,
Right?
often understood in Christian tradition as involving union with God.
Right.
Can you be a Christian while experimenting with magic mysticism?
No. I was in the Christian mystics movement back in 2010, and let me tell you something. You cannot take the things that are of the devil and mix it with God. He says, I am a jealous God. You cannot mix those things. You can't take any other God and then put it into God, because that's not his will. It says both Old and New Testament. You can't take in magic, whether it is Celtic magic, voodoo magic, black magic, white magic, whatever the magic. Magic the Gathering is also another type of magic. This is all coming from the same source, even if it's a card game or you're playing tarot cards or whatever, or even because I've heard some people say, well, if the person's a white witch and they're just praying for their friends to not have cancer anymore, or they pray so they can pay off their student loan debt. You guys don't understand, it's coming from the same source, though. It's still coming from the devil.
Devil.
It's against God. So no, you cannot be a Christian witch.
Yeah.
You can't be that.
You know, that does make sense to me. I'm not an expert on this subject in particular, but anytime you try to include any type of mysticism or magic or anything that's not explicitly of God or in the Bible, probably should stay away from it just to be safe.
Really quick, M.A. Neal, what is your opinion on people reading Harry Potter?
I think it's fine. I honestly think Harry Potter's harmless. Personally.
Probably is. I mean,
I read Harry Potter because it came out right when I was a kid, so it's part of my generation. Honestly, I mean, it's honestly, it's literally a children's book with magic characters. It's a fantasy. That's all it is. It's just the same thing as Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, all that stuff. It's fantasy.
The one with the lion on the front.
Hunger Games? I don't know. Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. All right.
There you go. Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe.
All right.
C.S. Lewis.
Number 12. So, I was masturbating, and I had blood in my semen. No pain, but it really freaked me out. What do? Well, I appreciate your dedication to the Charlie Kelly style of speaking there.
M.A. Neal, because you specifically are a medical assistant, I mean, what would you suggest?
I mean, there is actually no medical problem with having blood in your semen. It's actually can be a common thing, yes. As long as it's not like a lot of blood or consistent, you don't have to worry about it. You're fine.
That is weird.
If it happens a lot, go to your doctor, but if not, you're actually fine.
What?
Yeah, it actually is true. I looked this up when I got this question. We're good.
Never heard of that.
All right, number 13, last question here.
Right.
Hi, all. It's a controversial topic, and I'm not sure where to turn to advice, but I'm hoping this is a good place to start. Over the years, my partner has gained considerable weight. I do everything I can to support her, but at the same time, I have noticed that I am becoming less physically attracted to her.
All right.
I've just supported her whenever she mentioned wanting to eat more healthily and parked my feelings behind that. Recently, however, she has been noticing herself that I'm less attracted to her and started asking about it. I don't know how to approach that conversation, as I am afraid that the way I explain my feelings can have a very bad impact on her, as this is understandably a highly sensitive subject. Any advice is welcome.
Okay. I mean, the thing is that, I mean, yeah, you don't want to hurt her feelings, but, I mean, it's just physically unattractive when you're with a partner who's eats a lot and then doesn't go to the gym. Like, they don't care about how they see themselves, because, I mean, feminism has really bled into this lately, and anything that has to do with because, the whole body positivity, I know about this. My ex was all about that life, and let me tell you, something. It's just, you have to be respectful towards the partner that you have by going to the gym and looking good for your partner. So I'm not saying that this in in a misogynistic way or anything like that, because there's going to be times when, let's say, M.A. Neal, you're about to become a doctor, but M.A., I mean, there's going to be certain situations where your partner's going to go to a hospital and something's going to be screwed up, like the thyroid or something, and you just can't help it. Okay, let me rephrase this. It is a heart issue. If you don't care, if you don't care to lose the weight, that is what's unattractive to me.
Well, okay,
So-
all right. I'm going to stop you there, Chuck, because the problem here is not with the woman. You're not giving her. She's not the one that has the issue. It's the guy that's trying to tell her how he feels about her. So it's not the girl. The girl definitely needs to lose weight and whatever. That's fine. But you just have to give him advice on how he should tell her how she feels. Personally, I would say it's very important that you're as honest as you can in your relationship, because these people, when you're in a relationship with somebody, it's like kind of like a bond of trust that you have with them, and so it's really important that you be as honest as you can. Now, I can tell you from experience that this kind of situation is definitely a delicate one. Really, all you can do is try to be as supportive as you can. You can definitely hint at things that would bother you. Maybe you be proactive in scheduling gym time, or be proactive in choosing like healthy choices for lunch and for dinner and that kind of thing. That's one option you can do. Obviously, it's very difficult to go into this situation, but all you can really do is try to be as honest as you can, because really you're just going to end up hurting her more in the long run if you keep lying.
The boyfriend said in the email that he was getting tired of that. Here's the thing. So, I mean, so what you should do is you should sit down and just have a family meeting with your girlfriend and basically just explain, but in a soft, kind way. Explain. Don't throw it at her like trying to make her feel like a bad person or something. But it's just like, look, just find a nice way to say, like, I'm just not really feeling attracted towards you because you're kind of letting yourself go. And there could be a plethora of reasons as to why. I mean, you could stress, depression, whatever, but say it in a nice way and say, maybe we can just both work on this and both go to the gym together. And we could both eat healthy together. Like, it can be a bond between us. Like, it doesn't have to feel like an attack when you confront your girlfriend. Exactly. And, unfortunately, but if she doesn't succumb to what you're asking, and this goes 12 months by, and she's still like, well, I'm still trying to figure this out. It's like, okay, well, then, but you need to make you happy, too. So, what would you do? I don't know. All right, so, all right, so this has been Pastor Sean. Thank you guys for listening to the August Q&A right here for the show tonight. And if you guys want to hear another one, we're going to be doing a September Q&A actually with Ray for the next one. So we're going to be doing this once a month, like Dr. Jordan Peterson does, an hour and a half Q&A once a month with his fans. They get to ask whatever they want. So, and he tries to help them figure out their lives and stuff like that. And that's what we want to do, especially because I have an interest in psychology, and M.A. Neal here that's what he's going as his new major. So this is the perfect thing for us, and we want to help people. We want to change the world. We want to save the world, and I think we can do it. So once again, this is Pastor Sean. That was Buck, pseudo doctor, not a really doctor, and this is M.A. Neal.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening. God bless.